These are some of my Hoyas. All right, I have several kinds of plants here, but I want to focus on this Hoya. These are all just in a glass of water. If I lift that up, you can see. It's just all rooted in. And it's a bunch of starts that I took when I trimmed my Hoya. What I could do is separate all those, put each one of them in their own pot. Or I could take them out and put it all in one big hunk in a pot and make it look like one plant. I don't know, I could do it either way. But for now, they're happy there. All right, this is the Hoya I've had the longest. And it has bloomed several times, quite a few times actually. It's glorious when it blooms. You scan across here, and I have two more and one more plants there. And then I have a plant here. And over there. And then this one, the hanging one. This hanging one was hanging in my mother-in-law's entryway. And after she passed away, this was bequeathed to us. And look, let me show you what it's done. The lighting isn't very good here, but it has made its way across the ceiling there. And it looks like it might be the same kind of Hoya that my other Hoyas are. And I mentioned that the one plant that I have has bloomed several times. I can't remember right off the top of my head if I've gotten blooms out of some of the others. However, I wanted to talk about that bloom. When it blooms, it's like a little umbrella with little white, pinkish white flower, a lot of pinkish white little flowers, and it smells glorious. How do I describe the smell? It's a kind of smell. It doesn't permeate the room. It's the kind of smell that you need to get your nose kind of close to the flower to smell it. But it really smells good. It's kind of a sweet smell, a flowery smell. How else can I say that? I don't know how to describe this smell. It's just, I like it. I like it a bunch. So, the flowers again. This is not from my plant, but the flowers on my plant look just like this. So I wanted to show you what the flower looked like. Here's another picture of what the blooms look like. Aren't they pretty? I really liked the smell too, as I said before. So what is a Hoya plant anyway? It's called a Hoya carnosa, and sometimes known as a wax plant. It's a perennial evergreen that is intriguing because it's decorative and beautiful. It's a climbing vine, which you saw you can see it above me here, climbing, going up the wall. It's gained popularity for its lush, waxy foliage and stunning fragrant flowers, making it a favorite among houseplant enthusiasts. And it's extremely easy to take care of and extremely easy to propagate. So let's look a little more about it. It was originally from East Asia and Australia, and it thrives in tropical and subtropical environments. It can climb on trees and rocks in its natural habitat. and it belongs to the dogbane family. I'm not going to even attempt to say the biological. It's Apocyanacea is the name for it, along with plumeria, periwinkle, mandevilla, and oleander. It's a vigorous evergreen climber, as we already know. And it does wonderfully in hanging baskets, as you could see in my, it's not behind me now because I kind of changed positions here. But it's very adaptable as an indoor plant, an indoor potted plant. And in warm climates, it can be perennial outdoors. Indoors, it can reach lengths of 3 to 6 feet, and it has, like you saw, beautiful star-shaped flowers that bloom in clusters. These waxy porcelain-like flowers are red-centered, pink or white, and emit a sweet fragrance, like I told you before, especially in the evening. Hoya carnosa typically blooms from spring to fall. With proper care and mature plants that are 2 to 3 years old, they're more likely to flower. And the flowering can be sporadic, which I can vouch for that. I never know when I'm going to have a flower. It seems to pop up when it feels like it. And it could take several years for a new plant to bloom. I've had plants before that I had in water, like the ones I showed you, but not those particular ones, that have bloomed before I ever got them planted in pots. Have all of the plants I put in pots survived? No. I'm not a perfect plant person. Sometimes they die on me. Anyway, interestingly enough, they can bear fruit. The fruit of the Hoya carnosa is rarely seen in cultivation. I've never seen it, and I didn't know until I was researching a little bit here that it even could bear fruit. It produces seed pods that split open to release seeds with tufts of hair, allowing the wind to disperse them. It's known, well, hold on a second here. I had to fix my computer. It's very sensitive sometimes. All you have to do is look at it wrong, and it changes pages on you. And where I was getting my information from, it just zoomed away. Anyway, as I've told you before, it's known for its thick, waxy, lush green leaves. And they have a glossy sheen to them. They're typically elliptical and can grow 2 to 4 inches long. That's 5 to 10 centimeters. In some varieties, what I've got, there are other varieties other than the ones that I've got. And I have noticed when I've watched other videos of people going around places where they buy, garden centers, that some of the Hoyas didn't look anything like mine. So there are different, excuse the wiggly camera, there are different varieties of the plant. Anyway, some of them have variegation and splashes of white, cream, or pink. And I noticed one of my plants has the little white polka dots on the leaves that are really pretty. And the others are solid colored. When they're grown outdoors, hardiness zone 10 and 11. Indoors, just regular home temperatures and humidity levels. Here in eastern Oregon, our humidity levels don't tend to be very high. Inside the house, I think it runs between 19 and 24%, which is just about normal. Outdoors, sometimes it can get even less than that, in the summer especially when it gets hot. These plants have been the award-winning, prestigious Award of Garden Merit of the Royal Horticultural Society. So yeah, it's kind of an important plant. It's primarily used for ornamental, hanging baskets, trellises, or a lush trailing feature on shelves and mantels. It is non-toxic to pets or humans, making it a safe addition to a household with animals and children. It's considered non-invasive. It's mostly grown or controlled indoors or greenhouse environments. What kind of benefits does it have? Well, beyond its ornamental appeal, Hoya carnosa is believed to have air purifying qualities. That's a good thing because, as you saw, I've got several of them in my house. Helps to keep my air pure. And it helps to remove pollutants from the environment. What else can I tell you about them? They thrive in bright, indirect light, and mine are all by the windows, north-facing windows and a south-facing window, but my south-facing windows have a porch there, so it still ends up being an indirect light, even though it's a south-facing window. They like well-draining potting mix. An orchid mix or combination of potting soil, perlite, and peat is ideal. They prefer to be slightly root-bound, so don't rush to repot them. I think mine were just in regular potting soil, and I have not rushed to repot mine. Water when the top inch of the soil feels dry, and let me tell you, they can suffer abuse and be just fine. I've gone for what seemed like weeks forgetting to water mine, and they've been fine. Overwatering can lead to root rot, so make sure the pot has a good drainage system. Reduce watering in the winter when the plant is not actively growing. And feed a balanced, water-soluble fertilizer about every 4 weeks is recommended. I'm not sure if I've ever fertilized mine, to tell you the truth. And they seem to be doing fine. And overfeeding them can damage them. Prune them to maintain their shape or to remove unwanted tendrils. Be cautious not to remove the spurs where the flowers grow, because they will rebloom from the same place every year. The best time to prune is in early spring. Excuse me. Before its most rapid growth begins. To encourage blooming, allow the plant to become root-bound and provide adequate light. After it blooms, avoid pruning the flower stalks. Like I said before, they will rebloom on the old spurs. When you do repot, don't do it more than every 2 or 3 years. Longer is probably okay. Using a slightly larger container than the current one with fresh, well-draining soil mix. Ensure that the pot has drainage holes to prevent water from sitting and causing root rot. So propagation, you see what it's so easy. you cut a healthy stem, at least 2 leaves and 1 node, which is the place where the leaves emerge from the stem. Cut using a sharp pair of scissors, and then root it either in water or soil. I have tried rooting in it, so I have better luck rooting them in water. I have one that I had rooting in soil, and it didn't do well. Probably my fault. You never know. Anyway, you can use rooting powder if you wish, and put it in a moist potting mix. And the node should be buried in the soil. If you use water, change the water. Make sure that at least 1 node is submerged, and change the water every few days to keep it fresh. Well, my ones that I showed you, I have added to the, well, what happens is it evaporates, and I added to it, so that is, it looks fresh. If it gets to icky and smelling, I know that it needs to be changed, but I've not really had to do that more than like once, and I've had it there for a while now, so it's doing okay. Once the roots are a few inches long, if you water rooting, like mine are, or after a few weeks, you can transplant it to well-drained potting soil. And, I should get around to it, I really should. But they're doing okay. As long as they're doing all right, I'm not going to worry too much about it. And then care for it just like you would a mature plant. Perhaps slight increased humidity, and protect from the direct sunlight for a while. Well, always, I guess. Pests. You need to look for mealybugs. I've not ever had any trouble with mine. But if you get them, remove with alcohol-dipped cotton swabs or insecticidal soap. You can get scale insects or spider mites, and I've not had problem with any of those. It can get root rot from having too much water. It can get gray mold or botrytis that can affect the leaves and stems if it gets cool and damp and not enough circulation and too much humidity. It can get powdery mildew, which is a fungal growth on the leaves. Like I said, I haven't had any problem with mine. Knock on wood. Common problems. Leaf yellowing due to overwatering or underfeeding or insufficient light. Leaf drop can occur if the plant is too dry, too cold, or experiences a drastic change in its environment. No blooms, it's probably not enough light. You can, let's see, they just need to make sure, you need to make sure they have enough light. Avoid dehydration. Let's see, what is the lowest temperature that it can tolerate? About 50 degrees or 10 degrees Celsius. And since mine are in the house, if they get that cold, I'm just as upset as they are. We keep our house right around 72-ish. Well, it actually gets warmer than that sometimes in here. But the thermostat is set at 72. And you can put them outside in warmer months if you take care of them appropriately. And as long as the temperature doesn't go below 50, they should be brought indoors when the temperature drops. Your Hoya plant, Hoya carnosa, can live for many years, often decades with proper care. I know the one that I showed you that is my oldest one. I've had it for more than 10 years. So yeah, it can continue to, and It is the child of my original, it might even be the grandchild of my original plant, which I had over probably 40 years ago. Anyway, long time, generations. Well, I've probably talked your ear off, told you more than you ever wanted to know about a Hoya carnosa. I just know that it's my easiest plant to grow here in my house, and I love having it. So if you have the opportunity to get one, be sure and do that, and then take cuttings from it and grow as many of them as you want. And they'll last for a long time. Well, that's all I'm going to blabber on about with you today. I hope you watched clear to the end and didn't get too bored with all of my information. So I'm anxious for my next video. I haven't figured out what it's going to be about yet, but I want to remind you to chase after God. He will find you, and I will see you on my next video. Bye now.